Everybody, Annette?
Nope, there's one more. That's everybody.
Everybody, excellent. Well, welcome everybody. I see that we do have Councillor Patrick, Councillor Buchwald, and Councillor Rosner with us, and I believe that's that perhaps is Councillor Cision on the cell phone. Hi, Mark, I can see you now. Just a few housekeeping items for everybody. This is not a public meeting. This is a town hall, so the rules of engagement are a little different. Annette has you all muted, and the chat feature has been disabled. If after the presentation you would like to ask a question, I would ask you to go to the reactions box at the bottom of your screen and use the raise hand, and or come out of the dark and raise your hand and I will call on you. Obviously improper language or any language that could be construed as defaming will not be tolerated. I would ask that if you are going to ask a question, we give 3 minutes to asking the question and 3 minutes to answer. Even after the document was received by the residents, we did receive quite a few emails with regard to what was received. So I would ask that if your concern is in your email and you don't want to address it specifically to Mark or Patrick, that council does in fact have all the emails. So at this point, I'm going to turn this over to Mark, and I'll ask Annette to unmute Mark because I believe he is going to, you're going to share a bit of a PowerPoint, Mark, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, so I'm going to turn the floor over to you. If you see me go dark, sometimes when a screen share is on, my internet goes kind of crazy, but I am here. I am ready to moderate when you're done. So I will give you the 15 or 20 minutes that you wanted, and then we will take questions and answers.
Perfect. All right, well, I'll take it away. Thank you very much, Mayor Murphy, for moderating the session, and thank you for everybody for coming to this, to listen and to ask questions. Very happy to be here. And my name is Mark Drouin. I represent Delcan, and sort of running off the first slide here, we're just going to kind of go fluidly. We're a small partnership, myself and Pat. We're not a public company. We're not a big company. And we're hoping to take advantage of the new cannabis production business opportunities that were offered to us by the cannabis legalization in 2018. The proposed site that we're looking to produce the cannabis on is 131 Sebastopol. There's a picture on the next slide for people who aren't familiar, but I'm sure most are. We're looking at a small production capacity, fully enclosed in the building, so no greenhouse or no outdoor production or anything like that. And our target market is kind of the craft market, very high quality. So it's
Mark, you're
yes.
not sure your screen isn't being shared at this time. Were you intending to?
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. 1 second here.
Sorry to interrupt you. I just
no. That's good. Can you see it now?
no.
Okay. Sorry. Share screen. Screen 3. Oh, sorry. I'll get there. I promise. Screen 2. Share.
There we go. Oh, yep. You're on.
Okay. All right. I can't see it, but that's okay. Let me see here what I can do.
You can see it.
Okay, I'll roll off my desktop here, and we'll just go from there.
Sounds good.
Okay, so sorry about that. See if I can expand my screen a little bit here so I can see everybody. And all right, I'll work off my screen. So kind of just quick recap, just who we are. Partnership, 2 folks, looking at 131 Sebastopol as the production site. We're looking at really small production capacity, fully enclosed with no greenhouse or anything like that. We're looking at retrofitting the 20,000 square foot building, which is existing there now, which is to enclose a 5,000 square foot growing area. So we're looking at growing in about 5,000 square feet with additional adjoining offices, washrooms, that type of stuff. So it's going to be preliminarily about a 5,000 square foot operation, entirely enclosed in the 20,000 square feet. We're looking at probably, just for ballpark figures, about 3 to 5 million to get this up and running. And on the next slide here, I wouldn't even know how to change the slide on this. Oh man, let's see here. Would anybody know how to share my slide? Somebody can help me out, maybe.
You're definitely sharing your screen, but I guess you don't have your PowerPoint up anymore that you can go to the next slide.
I do, but it's did that work? Did it go to the next slide?
No, try again. Maybe use the down arrows on your
Let's try that.
board.
Sorry about this, folks. Just give me another minute. I'm trying a bunch of different things here. Well, unfortunately, it doesn't look like I'm able to move through the slides. Would the township be able to pull the slides up and share it?
If you send it, for sure. So if you want to email it to Dana Jennings, and if Dana can save it under the council folder, I can get a hold of it and do it. Yep.
Sounds great. Sounds great. Do that right away. Screen share.
Okay, I'm just gonna stop the share.
Oh, one sec here. Screen sharing. I was just trying to see if I could move it from here. No, unfortunately I can't. Okay, I'll email it to you.
And I think you have to stop share. I don't see where I can.
Okay, it says screen sharing here. So I can pause share.
Okay,
Sure,
but then there should be a red where it says stop share.
Correct. I was just seeing if I can mess around with it here a bit. Reactions.
Got a little green arrow there, maybe do something.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll try a new share. What I'll do is I'll share a different screen.
Okay, yeah, that can work.
I'm just going to try everything here, which is going to be. Let's show this here.
Oh, I see it down at the bottom there, your PowerPoint.
Okay. New
Pull
share.
that up.
I'm going to go 3. I might have got it here. What do you think? Can you see it?
I can't see it. I can see your Google screen,
Okay.
but I do see the PowerPoint at the bottom of the Google screen. And I think if you open that, maybe it would work. Like, see where it says show all? At the bottom of your Google screen.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for your patience.
Do we really need to read it?
How about that? Can you see that?
Still looking at your Google screen.
Okay.
You're sharing. Yeah.
Let's try. There's screen 1. Let's try screen 2. How's that?
Nope.
Any-
Yep.
Thank you. Sorry, I muted myself and I couldn't unmute. Can I suggest That Mark maybe log out and log back in.
Okay. Just as a backup, I'm sending the PowerPoint to whom?
Dana Jennings,
Okay.
and then she'll save it under the council file and I can access that from this laptop.
I just sent it. There we go.
Okay.
This will apply here. There.
Let me know.
I'll stop sharing that.
Perfect. Okay, we're back in business.
All right. Just gonna try this one last time. Sharing screen 2, and we'll see what happens. All right,
There we go.
it worked.
That's working. Now can you switch slides?
I'm switching now. Can you see?
Yeah.
You're good to go.
There we go.
Okay, go to your third slide, Mark. We got the gist.
We got the gist. Perfect. All right. So here's the location, 131 Sebastopol. And as I was saying, what we're working on is a cannabis production facility, a very small one, a craft cannabis production facility. For those of you that are unaware of sort of that new age of cannabis, it's all being run under the Cannabis Act, which came into force in 2018. The federal government, what they do under the Cannabis Act, they've created strict requirements for criminal background checks, safe production, packaging, labeling, promotion, security for the building. They pretty much have everything in a list as to what you need to do in order to make sure that your production facility is safe. The products that you're producing are safe for the public, and there's no criminal elements that are involved in your business. So really what we've seen here over the last, say, from 2018 on is what the industry is calling the professionalization of cannabis. Where before, totally understand the perceptions of cannabis growing, say, from the 70s, 60s on, moving forward, the types of people that would attract. But nowadays, what you're seeing is the types of people that the cannabis industries attract are professionals, healthcare professionals, plant breeders, horticulturalists, investors, marketers, these types of folks. So it's really become kind of sort of this white collar business where it's very professional. And we call it in the industry, it's the professionalization of the industry. And there's a really big opportunity here. The market is growing. Right now we're looking at about, 2019 at 1.2 billion. In 2020, we're looking at 2.6 billion. And of course, there's growth looking at it probably over 60% by the end of 2022, depending on what's happening in the States. So there's a lot of good opportunity here for a very viable business that is essentially fully regulated by the Cannabis Act and the feds. So our plan here, like I said, was to revitalize the whole building, was to update the whole building. And within that building is to have a small production capacity of 5,000 square feet. Now, just for comparative reasons, that's pretty small. Of the top kind of cannabis producers in Canada, they're looking at like 2 million square feet. So very, very small as comparative to sort of the larger Auroras, Canopies, these types of folks. So very much a craft business. For a lot of you folks that understand what the building looks like now, definitely doesn't look like this. This is our concept. This is what we're going to be doing to the outside of the building, revitalizing that sort of facade and making it look very sort of updated and professional, but also safe, where we're encapsulating all of the old material. And that picture there that you have on your screen is a pretty good rendition of what we have in mind for the building. So we think it's going to look pretty nice, especially as compared to what's there now. And that whole revitalization doesn't just revitalize, say, this building, but it also provides, revitalization for the whole business park. Taking a look kind of inside the building, what we're looking at here on the right is our kind of blueprint for our grow rooms, our drying rooms, offices, these types of things. And on the left is kind of a rendition of what it would look like. So as you can see, it's almost lab-like. Everything has to be, of course, very clean and up to the standards of Health Canada, which have put in place, what type of paint you need to use, what type of light you need to use, where the doors are, what type of airflow, all these types of things. So on the left is kind of what it looks like for you guys, for you folks that aren't necessarily involved or understand the operations of a cannabis production facility. This is probably a pretty big surprise, noting how kind of clean it looks. But at the end of the day, in any sort of agricultural environment, you need a clean environment. So what we're looking for, obviously we're going to be doing production. And with that in mind, that's covered by, of course, all the federal regulations, which allow us to use certain inputs. So what type of fertilizers are we going to use? They regulate the air filtration in and out. They look at our equipment. They look at the sort of the best practices in growing. So there's a master grower. We look at testing and quality of the product to make sure that it's good, to make sure that there's no contaminants, these types of things. We retain the samples for testing of everything that goes out. So there's a big kind of, there's a big system for retaining samples and tracking and tracing. Proper packaging, of course, that was always the big one, with no branding, there's no promotions. These are all under the legislation. And of course, if there are any issues, there's recalls. The Cannabis Act covers the security of the building and those involved with the cannabis production facility. So of course, there's a big sort of push on security, not allowing people in the building, these types of things, just like really with any other production facility, but you'll be looking at a perimeter fence, obviously, the waypoints and access points that are monitored, security measures around the access points, pass cards, security checks for those involved in the business. So in order to be associated with this business, you have to go through a full criminal and security check. And they cover also the storage facilities. So essentially it's a vault. And they also ensure that we register with the fire, police, and local government. So there's a lot of kind of regulation, the federal oversight that's happening under the Cannabis Act. And essentially it's pretty much all regulated. And what happens is that they can come onto our site at any time. They can have a kind of a quick inspection. They can have an audit at any time. And if anything is not up to code as per Health Canada's standards, we can be shut down. We can lose our license. It could even go as far as criminal convictions, depending on the nature of the breach. So Health Canada comes in and could do surprise audits, all these types of things, but they review everything from inside the building all the way out to the perimeter of the fence, so the grounds, everything like that. So like I said, if there's non-compliance, obviously there's repercussions. And with that in mind, noting that this is a full new business and a new industry that, even myself at some point was not really aware of until sort of the big push in 2018 of when it became legal, looking at the business opportunities, looking at the investment opportunities, it became a time to kind of get interested in it. But we understand that with any of these sort of new ventures and new industries, there's going to be a lot of questions. And that's kind of why we're here today. So we appreciate the opportunity to be here today. And we just wanted to kind of lay out a couple of the things that we saw kind of preempting some of those issues, being sort of water, traffic, odor, security, the public use areas that surround the building, the appearance of the property, and the potential economic impact. So I'll just quickly go over it because we know that there's concerns with water. And we know that the water supply is low in Foymount. And the opportunity with that we have here is, one, we will not be using any of the water in the water table. We'll not be using the wells or anything like that. We're actually going to be purchasing all of our water from the township, and at approximately 350,000 liters a month. So really at the end of the day, there'll be no effect on the water levels because we will not be using any of that water. We're going to have it all tanked in from the township. And we've already spoke with the township. We have a draft agreement, so everything is in place, and we'd be very happy to support the township in that way. And it's a win-win situation. So really no effect on the water. And then that's the water kind of coming out. Sorry, the water going in. The water coming out is another concern, talking about sort of the drainage and the groundwater, these types of things. absolute legitimate concern. And what we're doing with Delcan is we're having a fully encapsulated tank that all the wastewater, if any, because you'll see at the end of the slide, we're going for zero waste with reverse osmosis. We don't want to be wasting any water. That costs us a lot of money. But at the end of the day, if there is runoff, and this will be put into a holding tank, fully enclosed, pumped out, and brought to a recycling facility. So there'll be no effect on the groundwater or any contaminant in that way. Everything will be fully enclosed, but we're working towards zero waste. So like I said, water is very important to us, and it costs us money. So we want to save it, and we're going to do everything that we can to do that. Another very legitimate concern is the traffic. Will there be an increase in traffic? Yes, there will be a slight increase in traffic, but really it's inconsequential for kind of some of the following reasons. We're looking at about, fully up and running, we're looking at about maybe 10 to 15 employees a day. So really entry and exit at 10 to 15 people, 9 to 5 type thing. And the water delivery is looking at approximately once a month. The output of our product, we're looking at a single axle tube van, very small, once a month. The inputs are fertilizer, these types of things, again, single axle once a month. And generally speaking, looking at that volume of traffic, the township roads already have pretty low traffic, and that's consistent throughout the road network. And the traffic that we'll be having will be focused on the business park. The roads that we're going to be using, specifically Sebastopol, they're in good shape. The asset report noted 2013 was the last time it was kind of updated. So there's some good life left in those roads. And also Delcan is not going to be using any residential areas or anything like that. It's straight to the business park, straight out of the business park. Just for some comparative reasons, in the past, well, one, the population and the road use has decreased, so it allows for more capacity for the roads to be used. And about 11 years ago, Blackwater had about 175 employees in and out. So that's significantly a lot more. And before that, the military had about 400 people going in and out. So really 10 to 15 people is yes, it'll be an increase from nobody. But at the end of the day, it's relative to what the roads are meant to be used for. It's pretty small. So the other one is just a quick little graphic of the 10 to 15 out. So the other one is odor. This has been an issue for a lot of cannabis growers across Canada, is obviously the odor, the perception of odor, because cannabis, it smells strong. Doesn't smell like a tomato or anything like that. But at the end of the day, Health Canada, they do have the federal regulations that are put in place for public safety. And those include, we have to ensure that nothing is no harmful odors or anything like that is emitted. And in doing that, they provide recommendations through whether it be HEGA, HEPA, MERV 6, MERV 24, whatever it is of the filters that we use. And we're going to be fully enclosed. So a lot of the odor issues that you've seen in the news, that you've seen from other areas, 99% of those are greenhouse operations that vent openly. This is not going to be like that. There's no open venting. Everything has gone through a filter. And at the end of the day, the proof of these filters, I'll show you them in the next slide, but the air going out is actually cleaner than the air coming in. So really the smell is totally mitigated. And like any of the other issues or challenges, Health Canada can come in and audit us at any time. And there's a 1-800 line too that you could call and complain if you do find that there's an odor. And we would encourage you to do that because we want to be at the top of our game and we don't want to be emitting any odors or anything like that. But at the end of the day, these filters here that I have on your screen, they're the top of the line. These are what are recommended and it's what's being used, and they're very, very efficient. So essentially, like we were saying, the air going out is cleaner than the air going in. Quickly, the security, the building will be easily accessed. No, we're going to have the alarms. We're going to have intrusion alarms, video monitoring, security lighting, essentially 24-hour surveillance, which also plays a secondary role where we can kind of also play a bit of a security for the entire business park, because there have been challenges there with the buildings with some thefts and arsons and these types of things. When we have this building with the security measures in place, it'll be less likely that there'll be any other issues in the rest of the business park. And like I said, all the owners, everybody involved with the business have to go through a security check, and there can't be any criminal elements involved in this business. We did talk about the playground quickly. There is a playground that is close to it. It is within the allowable distance of the zoning, but at the end of the day, Delcan, we absolutely appreciate the use of that playground. And in the future, so what we were looking at is that some of those structures, they're perfectly good. We can reuse them, and Delcan can support building a new playground in a safer area that's not within an industrial park. But in the meantime, for folks that have maybe a perception or an issue with a line of sight or whatever it is, we can always throw up a tree line to block that. But the building itself is, you won't be able to know what's being produced inside. It could be chairs, it could be stools, it could be refrigerators. There's no indication that marijuana is going to be produced in there. There's no signage, there's no promotion. So really the line of sight really isn't an issue, but we'd be willing to throw in a tree line if that's necessary. Because I have a new daughter, 7 months old. I go to the park all the time. I love using it. So we want to keep it good for the residents. So at the end of the day, we also have discussions about the appearance of the property. It's going to be very, very nice. You saw the concept of the building, but at the end of the day, the $3 to $5 million investment, we're also having a line item for property maintenance. We're going to be hiring out our landscaping and all that sort of stuff. Again, Health Canada can come and inspect us all the way out to the perimeter. So all of that has to be nice and clean and proper. But for us, it's a good business decision because we have a brand that we need to upkeep. And if we have a shoddy property, the brand isn't necessarily going to be shiny either. So it's a win-win-win situation here, but really we have to be in compliance with Health Canada, and the entire property all the way out to the perimeter needs to be in tip-top shape. But we'll be hiring that out. And that kind of brings us to the economic impact, where Delcan will be hiring local first. Absolutely. We are looking to support the community. There's some sort of the positions where it's kind of indirect Delcan, like I was just talking about the lawn maintenance, these types of things, the snow removal, building maintenance, maybe some security. Maybe we can have a security guard, of course, the water, the equipment maintenance, janitorial, all that type of stuff will be locally sourced. And then, of course, with the other one that are direct, of course, there's management positions, growing, agronomic, research, scientific-based positions, and then packaging, trimming, these types of things. So there's going to be a lot of economic opportunity for jobs and that type of stuff. But at the end of the day, Delcan is looking to hire local first. And then we understand the impact of when the industry did leave in 2010 with Blackwater, and we're looking to kind of maybe revitalize some of those jobs, bring some economic opportunity back. So really, in summary, I mean, we're open. I mean, we're here. This is a big part of it. We appreciate this opportunity. We're willing to work with the community. We feel that the operations will be a positive economic impact on the township. We feel we'll revitalize the business park, add some needed security there, attract maybe some new investments. But we fully understand that some residents have reservations when this types of change are proposed, especially on this scale. However, we can say, like we're saying with confidence, we're excited to become an increasingly positive and proud part of the community, hire local first and give back. So at the end of the day, really appreciate being here and thank you for your time. And that concludes the presentation.
Thanks, Mark. If you could unshare your screen for me, that would be great.
Did that work?
It did in fact work. All right. So again, just the rules of engagement. If you do have a question, if you could either come out of the dark and raise your hand, or at the bottom right of your, or almost to the right of your screen, there's a reactions button. There is a raise hand in that. And I would also remind you all, no bad language, no defaming language. Let's keep this professional and clean. I see that we have Samantha. Annette, would you kindly unmute Samantha for me?
Hello. So I have several questions. So how do you want me to go about this? Do you want me just to fire them all off or?
Maybe you've got 3 minutes. So maybe start with a couple of your more important ones. And Samantha, if there's time at the end, we will circle back to you. Is that okay? And Samantha's on mute again. There we
Okay.
go.
So what is your definition of hiring local? Is that Bon Cheer Valley or is that Foy Mount residents?
Sorry,
What is your definition of hiring local? Is that Foy Mount residents or Bon Cheer Valley Township residents?
I mean, we'll start Foymont, and some of these positions would be localized. So if we can't find there, we'll kind of like eating local, where if you can't do it in your township, you kind of move out 100 kilometers, move out 100 kilometers. So it's definitely start Foymont as the priority, and then move my way out, depending on the specialty of the position. But for the positions that are, you know, pretty standard, that there's obviously capacity in Foymont to take on, Foymont's the place to be.
Samantha, you have another question?
I do. And in terms of the issue with the park and moving the park, in your slides, you stated that that may be something that you're interested in doing. Why only maybe? If you're going to put that there and we use that park, and I have children, and there's lots of children there, even though you've said that the population has gone down, there are more children here than ever who utilize that park. So that's a priority for a lot of people in this community.
Absolutely. And like I said, like I have a brand new daughter of 7 months. We go to the park all the time, and it's a lot of fun, and it's great for the kids. It's great for the community. It's a meeting point and all that sort of stuff. We want to support that. And what we want to do is take care of what's there now. So put in that line of sight, and, you know, we'd even be willing to support to bring it up. Like there are some challenges there. We'd be willing to support that playground there now to bring it, kind of improve it, make it safer now. And then as we generate our revenue through the next 5 years, we'd be willing to put in a new park. And it's more of a revenue thing, Samantha, where we want to make it right. We want to make it safe and fun for the kids. So really, when it's more of a revenue generation thing, when we get there, we would put in that new park, but we want to take care of the park that you're using first off. And that's another thing with that tree line too. You know, if it's something that you don't want to see, like I totally understand that. But I do want to reiterate that, like, there's no signage, there's nothing. But at the end of the day, if it's like, if people don't want to see the building, there are some other buildings there that, you know, maybe we should put a tree line in front of also. But at the end of the day, we'd be willing to do that. And we'd be willing to work with you, Samantha, if there are any issues that you see personally, you know, maybe the teeter-totter or whatever it is that you'd like to see in there, we can work with you too. And we can move forward on that basis. But right now, we kind of want to work with what we have. And then as we generate revenue, kind of look at that new state-of-the-art park.
If it's okay with you, I'm just going to ask if there's anybody else that wants to ask a question, and I'm happy to circle back to you. Oh, okay. I'm not sure who Velvet is, but if you'd like to come out of the dark, I will ask Annette to unmute you.
Hello? Sorry, I've got a couple of, I'm gonna have to turn down this other volume, sorry.
We're at a rock concert.
That was
Yeah,
awesome.
well, I've got two devices going for different reasons, so I apologize for that. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Perfect. So thank you for having this. I know that we're fairly new to this area. My parents have been here for over 20 some years, however. So, Mark, if you can just touch on what you mean by the decrease of population, because as Samantha said, you know, we actually feel that it's actually increased due to the fact that perhaps older residents that were here have now moved on or passed on and such. There have been now younger families coming into this space. So if you can kind of clarify that a bit for us.
Oh, no, for sure. Like revitalization, different story. Absolutely. I was looking at the numbers from the base. I was looking at numbers from the employment at Blackwater. And also there were some numbers, I believe, Pat, maybe you can chime in here. I believe it was provided by one of the counselors that noted kind of a decrease in population, just based on kind of like the peak of Foymont when the roads were put in place. It was more of a traffic angle. But looking at the revitalization of Foymount, that's a whole other story. And we want to be part of that. And we do, looking at kind of the kind of general demographic of more folks moving out outside of the city limits, all these types of things. Foymount is ready to grow, or is growing and ready to grow even more. And we want to be a part of that. And we're really excited for Foymount. And at the end of the day, it's a really, really nice place to be. And hence us kind of wanting to be there with you as kind of a good corporate neighbor. But at the end of the day, I was talking kind of that peak of Foymount and now kind of that decrease, but I totally take your point of the revitalization with younger families. And like I said, myself, I have a young family myself, and we're thinking of kind of moving out of the city ourselves. So, at the end of the day,
So I appreciate that. And touching on moving the playground to a safer area, what would that be? Where would that be?
Yeah, so there was some preliminary discussion with the township when we were talking about this, and what we said is that we'd be willing to build a kind of a new park, and what the township kind of in draft form, what we were talking about was that they would look at some unused public property that they would have that's correctly zoned and all that, and we would then build on that unused. So it would be up to kind of the township where they would like to put it. It wouldn't be up to us.
And would that be looking like, and anyone can answer this, I guess, but would that be looking like Foymount itself, or are we talking down the hill, down the road? What are we looking at?
Actually, I'll take this. I don't believe that we would want to take the park out of Foymount.
Right.
We certainly understand the enormous amount of families with young children that have moved there, even to the point, I saw Trudy on here earlier. There she is. She asked for some children playing signs, and the township's going to supply those, because we understand that there are a lot more children. So I completely believe we could find, if this happens, then we will find somewhere to put that park.
Mhm.
And Velvet, if it's okay with you, I'm going to move on. Since you've had your 2 questions, I'm going to move on to Lynn. And I will ask Annette if she would kindly unmute Lynn, trying to give everybody the same opportunities here. Hello.
Hi. So one of the things that, Lynn, I'm Gerard, Lynn's husband. One of the things I noticed during the conversation is the brand. What background do you have with your company? I did a little check, and it's only been incorporated for 9 months. And you keep speaking of a brand that you have. Can you elaborate about your brand and how much experience you have had in the past growing marijuana, etc.?
So myself, no, that's a great question, and I love branding. Myself, I have a background in business and branding. I've gone through a couple of these where we've looked at branding different products. That's not my specialty, but it's definitely in my wheelhouse. So that's going to be part of my sort of my focus, being the branding of Delcan. And like I said before, it's a craft market. And we've been in discussion since 2019. And that's when we sort of started this idea, this dream, this venture of ours. And that's when we came up with the name Delcan. And moving forward, the basis around that is a craft, small production, high quality, which is the trend, which is, we call it.
Okay, thank you. So no previous background. Next question that I had was, you speak of $3.5 million to be spent. How did you come up with this number?
So it's based on other investments for other cannabis growing operations, and looking at the different costs for revitalizing the building. We've done estimates, looking at revitalizing the building, looking at hiring the right specialists, looking at getting through the legislation and all that. It comes out to about between 3 to 5 million, depending on how shiny, kind of like, do we want gold faucets? We're going 5 million. If we want to keep it nice and easy, we're looking at more like 3 million. Some of the smaller.
Right. And okay, thank you very much.
Gerard, if I may have to come back to you if you don't mind, because I do have other.
I had some more serious questions as well. Thank you very much.
We'll catch back up to you.
Sure, thank you.
All right. And Annette, if you would kindly unmute Sue. Sue has her hand up. And
Hi.
Hi,
How are you going? How's it going?
good, Sue. How are you?
Not too bad. I was going to ask Mark in what official capacity does he hold in the corp? And I think that answer might have been somewhat answered, but he's not an official representative. He's being hired as a,
Nope.
what exactly? A promoter?
No, I'm an official representative. My heart and soul is in this business. It is my dream. I'm really excited to work with Pat on this. So at the end of the day, I'm 1,000% involved in this business. I'm not a promoter. I'm nothing like that. I'm invested.
So in other words, you're an investor.
No, I'm a partner. Anyways, at the end of the day, it's
All right, so you're one of the major partners in the company, official. Okay, my next question. You realize that FOIMA percentage of workers is very limited, right? About 65 to 70% of the town is retired. So you've picked a retirement community based on a few, okay, now coming in, a few families have moved in recently, and it's a mixed community, but I'm not sure why you picked Foymount. Exactly.
It's a great location. It's got very high altitude also, which is great for growing cannabis, which is part of our brand. To talk about the brand again, retirement community, you know, I appreciate that perspective, but you know, we just talked to two people saying that it's a lot of new young families. So really, at the end of the day, I see it as a diversified community that is progressive, that is understanding, that is looking for opportunities, and that's why we're here talking with the citizens. Like,
I know, I realize this, but I don't want you to take over the show here. So I'm going to say I've been here 17 years, and we never needed an industry before. We also have commercial buildings that are presently being used. We have, the town has progressed immensely since the fall of the Army base, which they have left, and left basically nothing to look forward to here.
Blackwater was there.
Blackwater came afterwards. Yes, there was other people that took advantage of the opportunity to come here, and Blackwater was afterwards. And also Blackwater really was here for quite a while and did employ people. But again, they've not succeeded in, because there is a lack of water. And when the base was here, by the way, we had water and sewers and all the bells and whistles, okay? We didn't have to depend on well and septic tank. The reason we're here, us residents, is because we do like the altitude and we do like to breathe in fresh air. So saying that, we still do not approve of industry. We're not pointing the finger at Delcan. We're pointing the finger that we're not ready to allow industry in our town, and we are working towards not allowing it. So you don't take offense. But coming back to what has happened since you, I'll give somebody else a chance.
Yes,
Okay,
if you don't mind, and Annette, I'm having some internet issues here, but could you please unmute Trudy for me? Hello, Trudy, you're on the air.
Hi.
Trudy, you're on the air.
Hi, Mark. It was good of you to do this presentation. I just want to say that I did move to Foymount 22-ish years ago, and I did move here for industry to work at Blackwater. And I do know that there is a lot of the younger families in this community that, you know, we do have the expertise to work up at your location. However, my question is about the fencing, and I'd like you to just explain what you see as fencing. Like, I'm hoping not like some chain link with some wire around the
Oh.
top. Like I'm hoping for, you know,
no.
maybe cement walling. I don't know. You go on and tell me what you're thinking.
Not cement walling, but not chain link things.
Not cement walling,
this,
but not chain link things.
There's a echo there. Maybe Trudy, you might have a second.
Echo there, maybe.
Anyway, I'll keep going. We have looked into a fence already, and it's correct me if I'm wrong, Pat. You can jump in here. And what it is, like sort of it's a thicker black kind of wrought iron with a bend at the top. So there's no kind of razor wire. Like it looks like a kind of a nice the fences that you see around Parliament. That type of thing where it's straight and it's about 7 foot tall with a small bend on top. So that's what we'd be looking at. It looks pretty nice. I mean, from my perspective for fences, it looks pretty nice, and it's a requirement from Health Canada fencing in.
Did you have a follow-up for Mark?
Let's take a turn. I have no idea why my internet's so bad because we do have exceptional high speed up here.
We
Is that
can hear
Trudy
you
talking?
now.
Yeah, we can hear you very well now.
Yeah, we can hear you very well now.
Oh, okay, yeah, the fence was just my question right now. I do have some other questions, but I'll let someone else go ahead, and I just want to think on mine a little bit more.
Thank you, Trudy. All right, Annette, I will ask you if you would kindly unmute Jocelyn Rolliard. Hello, Jocelyn.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't really have questions as much as reflection on the past. I've been in Foymount for 42 years. There was a time where there was Blackwater, Chuck Davis's furniture factory, a restaurant, a garage.
Wow, okay.
There was hundreds and hundreds of people working here, and we never had a traffic problem, or I don't even remember a single accident in Foymount in all that time. So I'm not worried about traffic, and I'm very pleased if there was jobs for the young ones growing here. At the moment, there is absolutely nothing in this town. It's completely dead. So it would be nice to see something happening.
Absolutely. We'd love to bring it. Absolutely.
Good.
Jocelyn.
Again,
All right.
That's all I have to say for now.
Well, thank you for that.
Okay.
I see Kim has her hand up and she hasn't been able to, there she is. Can we unmute Kim, please?
Still muted. Oh.
Yeah. Nope.
I can't blame anyone for technical issues. I blew it at the beginning, so.
All right.
Sorry, Kim, you're still muted.
I've asked her to unmute, but I guess I don't know if it's not why not.
Oh, Kim, Annette is asking you to unmute
good to go?
yourself. Perfect.
Okay.
There you
Hi,
are.
thank you very much for this opportunity to speak. I just wanted to say, like, I live in Eganville. I've lived there for about 2 decades now. And I have to say, I'm pretty enthusiastic to hear about this new opportunity for growth in the area. I'm hearing lots of positive feedback with the people I'm talking to in town. Currently, I have to travel to Ottawa daily, and I work in the lab tech field. And I guess my question is, I'd like to know when Delcan might be taking applications. Thank you.
Perfect. I mean, we'll take them right
Kim's
away.
using this as a job interview.
That's it. And I mean, that's talk about getting it on the ground level. We take it right away, to tell you the truth, because we're looking for some of that scientific capacity. We know we need it. When it's going to take place, I mean, depending on the decisions with the council and all these types of things, we're looking maybe a year from now. That's maybe when we can start kind of actually getting operations going. But we would entertain your resume at any time, Kim. Maybe we can talk, and I can give you my email, and you can send it on to me and anybody else's resumes that maybe think that they can provide a positive kind of input to our operation.
Great, great. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you. That's great.
I did not see that coming.
Me neither. And what an opportunity, anyways, that's great.
All right, so now I'm going to go back. So could the people that have their raised hands, could you go back down to that little button and unraise your hands and then raise your hand again if you have further questions, and I will take them as I see them. This is a bit of it's not the easiest thing here, but I am trying my best. All right, so I see Velvet, go ahead.
Sorry, I had to get the button. Sorry. Okay, are you good now? Sorry.
Yes.
We're good
We had
now.
the rock
So you've addressed most of all the concerns and odors and such like that. Can you speak on light pollution?
Oh, absolutely. Actually, you know what? That's a good point. Light pollution does come up a lot in cannabis production, but that's with regards to sort of the open greenhouse. I know there's been horror stories of it because a lot of it is in rural areas, and then they light up the sky because essentially the whole thing is 1,000-watt light. We won't think of that. We're fully enclosed. Literally, there will be no light coming from the cannabis operation coming out. We have to have light enclosure because the growing periods of the vegetative and flowering state, they have to be fully dark at certain points and fully lit at other points. So we can't have any light coming in and out. It has to be fully controlled. The only light that we will have will be outdoor, kind of like the street security lighting, where it would be, you know, on the corner, we would have a street light, and we would have lights on our buildings lighting up the perimeter for security reasons. But those would be those security lights that are on a post, kind of down that you would see in a parking lot.
Okay, great. And Jennifer, this might be more for you actually, but I'm wondering about, so in doing some more research upon this whole project and getting to understand what was sort of entailed and such, I've come across different articles and information. And what I want to know is, and I'm sure you'll address this probably at the end of this presentation, but basically what's the next steps and how do we go about securing our needs and making sure they're met? So for instance, I would want to see in documentation proposals for that park and what that entails in detail and where that might be. So if we're sort of signing contracts, if you will, and I know that's, you know, not what we're talking about, but as residents of the actual town here, I think we want to see some safeguards with regards to, you know, you're coming in potentially to do this. We want to see in writing the promises and the expectations that we're anticipating, right? I think it's in good faith, just as you said, you want to work with us. I think if this is a go forward thing in good faith, that should be in writing as well. As much detail as we could expect, and not just sort of, we'd like to do this and it could potentially happen and the playground will be maintained. I think as much detail as we can get in that, we'd feel much, I guess, more cared for.
Velvet, that is an excellent question. So what this would mean, so next Tuesday, council will be debating this. So again, this is not a public meeting. Council will not be discussing it this evening. We will be discussing it at a special meeting of council next Tuesday at 1:30. What we will require if this does go through is something called a site plan agreement. And in that agreement, there will be certain benchmarks that Delcan will have to meet in order to be on the right side of this, not only with Health Canada, but with the township and with the people of Foymount. So what that will look like, I don't know. We are inviting our lawyer to our meeting next Tuesday, but I will tell you that with anything of this magnitude, we would absolutely want a site plan agreement in place. And I agree with you, which is with as much detail as humanly possible. So great question. Stay tuned. All right, Trudy, did you have another question? Or did you just not put your hand down? Can we unmute Trudy? There she is.
No, I'll shoot another question out there. Am I echoey this time?
No, you're good.
I think it was my cell phone earlier. So my question once again is the jobs that are available. Before it's posted publicly and I know we're all Bonnechere Valley, but we have quite a lot of people up here that could fill quite a lot of those positions. Is it going to be made more public to the people of Foymount first? And then once those positions can't be filled, then you're going to broaden your horizons? Or you're just going to post it like on Indeed and whoever applies, applies?
No, I definitely don't want to go the Indeed route. I mean, it's a good route for some folks. It won't be for us because, like you said, we're specialized. And if we do have people that are dedicated in the area, those are the people that we want. Pat and I have tossed around the idea of having a job fair at the location, if, depending on how this all rolls out, but having a job fair as in you have to walk up to it. So that, provides kind of a very local perspective on it. And, if people want to drive 500 clicks to walk up to a job fair, more power to them. But we would foresee mostly the local people doing that. And we would be advertising, like I said before, I forget who, kind of like the Eat Local, where we would go within the township, can't find it there, keep expanding. And just like on this call here, lab technician capacity is huge, something that we were looking for. And, Mana, it just dropped down for us. So we look forward to working with the community. And we find that if we hire local first, people are more passionate because that's their township, that's their area. And that's what we want. So we want passionate people. We know that there's passionate people in the area and we want to tap in on that. So really, again, with the local and then moving out, but I don't know, what do you think about, maybe this is a question that you weren't expecting, but what do you think about a job fair within the area? It potentially, would that kind of work out for local?
I think a job fair would be great, and then it would give us actually the opportunity. I have never seen Patrick in all his years up here. Have no idea what he looks like. So, it would give us a chance to actually maybe even, and I think a lot of the people up here are in the same boat. So it would actually give us a chance to feel him out as well.
That would be great. And yeah, actually, you're right. You gotta see who you're going to be working for, and if you want to do that, I think I'm speculating. I think you'd be pretty happy to work with him. He's a really nice guy. But at the end of the day, you're right. Shaking hands, meeting, all that type of stuff. That's something that we want to do. We want to be part of the community. This is a dream of ours, and we're passionate about it. And we know that there's people in the area that are passionate about it too. And that's something that we want to take advantage of.
Hey, can we unmute DCN Mark, please? Thank you. Welcome. Go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, yeah, I am one of the residents of Foymount, and one of the things that I did notice was the fact, and you may have covered this already, because unfortunately I did not join the meeting right from the start. But one of the questions I have is, what is the actual reason for relocating the kids' park? Because I take my grandkids over there very often. There is nothing unsound about it. It's perfectly okay. I would certainly love to see an upgrade in exactly that same location. But why? What's the reason? What's the central reason behind wanting to move the park?
That's a great question. If costs and all that sort of stuff, really it does play to leaving the park where it is. But we heard the residents in our last town hall meeting, which was, it's online. And a lot of the residents really pushed for the fact that they didn't want a play area beside a cannabis production facility. I look at that as a little bit of maybe a misunderstanding of what this facility was going to look like, smell like, these types of things, where now I think I've given enough information to show that you won't be able to tell if we're making refrigerators or if we're growing cannabis. Like there's no indication of that. There's no smell, there's nothing. It's actually going to be a nice building. Maybe Mark, that that has changed some of those past their minds as to maybe they do want to relocate it. Maybe when they see what it actually looks like and all that, there'll be less angst towards that location, because we are zoned correctly and all that. But to your point, Mark, it is a good park. There are, like I said in the presentation, there's some good components there. I love going to the park with my daughter. So at the end of the day, that park will be at least there and improved. And if people do come around and start to have a different perception of what they're seeing at the park, maybe we won't need a new location. But if the majority of residents feel that we want to be a good corporate player, we want to be part of this community, we want to support the community, and we'll take all of that into account, which you would mean, if the majority is saying move it, we would probably move it. But at the end of the day, maybe their views will change when they see that there really is going to be very little to no effect from this building, and we can just improve this park. Because Mark, I would prefer, from an economic point of view, I'd prefer just to improve this park, but if the residents want it, we can move it.
Could I ask one other question, or is there somebody else?
No, you go ahead, sir. I do have other people, but absolutely ask your second question.
There is one concern, I know, and this is a major concern for a lot of us over here, and I do not live in a close vicinity to the anticipated industry, but the major concern is the fact of polluting the environment with the smell. I know your assurances are that this will not happen, but let me say one thing. For example, I am a non-smoker, and I'm only talking about general smoking. I'm not necessarily talking about cannabis. Now, as a non-smoker, I am extremely sensitive to the smell of smoke. But as a smoker, most smokers will say to me, it's not bad. It's not really there. It's something that you're potentially imagining. And in fact, I'll be very honest with you. I've had, in fact, even a court hearing in connection with something like that, but it is cannabis related. So the fact is that for somebody who is in it, it does not seem to be offensive to them. But to others, it certainly is. What is your proposal for a true measurement of what the outside looks like and smells like? What is your measurement? Because in my understanding, there is no such measurement or a device that will tell me emphatically, Mark, you are right, there is a smell out there.
Right.
But
right.
you can position yourself in a manner that facilitates your industry, but does not facilitate me as a resident.
For sure. No, those are great points. I'm just trying to look up the name for it, but there is equipment to which Health Canada uses in their audits, and they come and they essentially put it beside the venting to look at I believe it's noxious odor. I forget what the terminology is, but essentially it's the scientific term for the smell, because the smell is created by the terpenes of the cannabis. It's not created by the cannabinoid at all. It's created by the terpenes, which makes it that skunky kind of smell and all that. So when it comes down to burning it, or the cannabinoid or the THC being burnt or anything like that, that's not what's being emitted. What's being emitted is those terpene smells from the plant. So it's just, as would be a tomato, like you said, Mark, if you're in tomato growing, you don't smell tomatoes, but some people could smell tomatoes. Same thing with the cannabis. And those terpenes, there's been a lot of research done on, and it's carbon filtering really that comes down to it, with the HEGA and the HEPA, and also the MERV6, which we're actually looking to go to MERV12. But at the end of the day, what happens is those noxious odors coming out of the vent, Health Canada audits it. And then you might have missed it you weren't here for the beginning of the presentation, but we show the equipment that we're going to be using, which is state-of-the-art, top of the line type stuff. But also yourself, Mark, you can complain to Health Canada, who will then come out and audit us with regards to smell. There have been a lot of issues in the past with regards to smell. So Mark, you're bang on. But at the end of the day, 99% of those issues were with the open production of greenhouse, where they would vent and they would just waft. There was a big story about the Edmonton airport. That was Aurora Cannabis, the world's largest cannabis growers, and they were wafting open their greenhouse. We're not greenhouse, we're fully enclosed. We're controlling all the air coming in and going out. And like we're saying, the air going out is going to be cleaner than the air coming in. But Mark, if there's ever an issue, one, you can work with us. You can have a chat with us, absolutely. But if you want to take that formal route, there is an odor complaint line from Health Canada. They'll come in, they'll test it, they'll audit us. If it's bad, they'll shut us down. If it's not, they'll continue to let us go.
Thanks for that, Mark. I do see our County of Renfrew planner, Bruce Howarth, has his hand up. So I'm wondering, Annette, if Bruce wants to weigh in on this odor issue. Hi, Bruce, welcome. Thanks for being here tonight.
Good evening, Mayor Murphy. Thank you very much for having me. So I just did want to say hi and that I am here available to answer any questions that people have about the process and the applications in front of the township, whether it's the public or if members of the council have any questions. So a lot of the issues that have been discussed today are site plan related questions. And those are things that the township can include in the site plan, things such as the fencing, the aesthetics of the building, the outside of the facade, lighting. Those are all the water and the sewage. And those are all township issues that can be addressed through that site plan control process, which is separate from the zoning bylaw amendment process. The zoning bylaw amendment process is really about land use and making sure that when you pass that zoning bylaw, the use that you're allowing is compatible with the adjacent community and the everybody else who has to reside around it. So the application that Delcan has submitted is for a zoning amendment to allow the cannabis production. And one of the things that the township does not have the ability to regulate is odor. So the township would have to pass a noxious bylaw, like a noxious use bylaw. And then actually, and Mark was correct, having like, there is a special device out there that the township would go after and buy to actually have a measurable metric of what odor is. And when it passes that point of just being an acceptable odor to an obnoxious odor. And so that is it's a tricky balance to play. And Mark is correct that saying that Health Canada regulates it through their license program. But Mark, I was hoping you'd be able to just provide some additional clarity on the reasonable expectations of people for how the smell that is going to be coming out of the plant.
Sure.
My understanding is from the planning reports, we're not saying zero smell here. We are saying that there not be an obnoxious odor, and obnoxious is really subjective to a lot of people. You can't say what. So I was hoping you could provide some more information about that. And also, is there certain times when the odor is going to be greater? For example, if you're doing harvesting of your plants, is there going to be like a couple of days where the odor will be increased versus less odor for the rest of the time? Right. And and then the last, I'll let the mute button let you answer that question. I have a little follow-up for you.
No, for
Thanks,
sure.
Bruce.
Absolutely. Thanks for those questions, and thanks for all the work that you've done. With regards to sort of the odor, at what level is that noxious or not? Looking at most of the data coming out of other cannabis grow operations that are fully enclosed, not the greenhouse operations, the fully enclosed that are controlled, 99% of the noxious, I forget what it is, 99% of it is contained. So you're right, there may be a small amount that comes out, but at the end of the day, from most, not the enclosed areas, it's undetectable. So it would be, I'm not saying it would be zero smell. It really would be zero smell. We couldn't detect it, that machine could. So that's where you kind of get into that, is it a smell? Is it not a smell? If you walk by the building, like I said, based on the informatics from the filters and everything, the guarantees that are provided that, and also the federal regulations on top of it, the air going out will be essentially odorless. With regards to what time of year, that's always an issue with regards to the greenhouse or the open concept growing, where at the end of those years, when you start getting into harvest, that's when really you're looking at about 2 weeks of really pungent odor for those open greenhouses. And we don't have that. That's fully enclosed. So there's going to be no ups or downs. Everything coming out is going to be essentially the same amount of knock, or I forget what it is, which is very, very low, which will be under the standards. So there'll be no fluctuations throughout the year of harvesting or anything like that. But I absolutely take your point that that's an issue for some other groups that don't necessarily have a fully enclosed air, like they don't fully control their air circulation.
Okay. Bruce, did you have a follow-up?
Sure. I was just going to say thank you very much. And so, like the zoning process that you're asking council to consider, the only method that the township has to control odor is separation, and that is the one thing that council is considering right now. And so I'm I appreciate your answer for that. And so it sounds like you are anticipating that essentially no odor is going to be coming out of the plant. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. Thank
All
you.
right, I'm going to go back to Lynn and Gerard. If we could unmute Lynn, please. Hello.
Okay, so thank you very much. One of the questions that came up was answered through the meeting will be held with the community township, and the site plan will be gone over. Because my concern was they're talking, like I looked through this Delcan Agricultural Inc. and I did a little research, and I found, that they'd incorporated 9 months ago, but have been in the area in that building for a number of years. And nothing has been done to upgrade the building so far. They did start a roof, which is half completed at this point. So I was really concerned about nothing moving and progressing past that point. I saw no engineering, no plans for the financial plan, no architectural plan, nothing going forward so far. So I was hoping next week or the week after, when you guys have a site plan meeting, that those questions will be answered. Because so far what I've seen from that building is no progress. So hopefully, moving forward, we can get some real meat and potatoes, as we call it, information out here, not just a generic package of somebody's lighting, of somebody's building. And federal oversight we're speaking of, I've seen nobody to date attend the building. We have no idea of water overrun at this time, how it's being handled. There's never been a fire inspection inside the building. All of these things are of concern for me. So I hope moving forward, before any major decisions are made, that some of these things can, be brought to light.
All very good points, sir. I think Mark wanted to respond. No, you're good. Okay, I know that our CAO, Annette Gilchrist, is very interested to see what we can put in a site plan, and there's absolutely no way we could go forward without some sort of agreement. So, all right, I'm going to go back to Samantha. And Mark, I'm cognizant of your time as well, but just because we got started a little late, I think if we could take just maybe a few more minutes of questions. Thank you. All right, Samantha, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm good. My questions have been answered. Thank you for the opportunity to chat with you guys.
Wonderful. Thanks,
Thank you.
Samantha.
Mayor Murphy, your Video is,
I will go back to Sue.
I think she said we're going back to Sue. You're cutting out, Mayor
Yes, I
Murphy.
did. I froze up. Sorry. Can we unmute Sue, please? Hi,
Hi,
Sue.
I'm back. I'm back. Yes, this odor situation would be an extra concern for us anyway in Foymount. As you know, that being high is great and the air is fresh and all that, but there's at times where low pressures come in, clouds come in, and the mountain is completely covered by clouds. I don't see how the odor will even have a chance to go. It will just stick down here with us. And I know we've had some very bad weeks of high pressure coming in and no wind, and it was just thick. And thank God we don't have any pollution issues, and we're really not looking forward to any either. So yes, I'm glad that somebody commented on that, and this is one of more concern that I really I'm not an expertise in, but I certainly want answers to come up. And thank
Absolutely.
you for your time.
Thank you, Sue. Okay, I will go back to the other Mark.
Yeah, I was wanting to, and thank you for taking my question. I was wanting to go back to what Bruce had said, and thank you very much for your input, Bruce. But I just wanted a little clarification. Now, based on what you had said, Bruce, is it that the agreement or the proposal right now does not already have a stipulation that the government should be testing the air quality or the smell quality, if I may call that right? Is that written into the agreement? Are we going to see that 100% written in to ensure that we will have the right quality within the village is my question.
Yes, all of those things will be written into our site plan.
Okay, so we will have government overseeing that for sure.
Yes, and I think Bruce would like to weigh in. Go ahead, Bruce.
Thank you, Mayor Murphy. Yes, so the site plan, as I said, the township itself is not in a position to regulate the smell. So what the site plan would do, at least the ones I've seen as examples, so the township will have its own language that I can insert, but it will make reference to the Health Canada regulations and acknowledge that air purification systems will be installed to the Health Canada licensing program. So that would be the clause in there. So the site plan will essentially pass along that responsibility or make it clear that that responsibility is with Health Canada and that the expectation is that the operators of that site will be meeting that regulation.
Well, Bruce, I would assume that all of the Health Canada regulations will be in our site plan agreement. I'm assuming Bruce is going to help us with it. So, all right. And at that, Velvet, if you have another question, you get the last word. You are the last question of the evening.
Thank you. Actually, I just didn't get to clarify before I was muted last time. Jennifer, you had said that the site plan would be released after it was a deal.
Well, what we would have to do, and I'm assuming Bruce Howarth will help us with this. What we'll do is we'll have to put something together that Delcan will have to sign as an agreement with the township that, you know, all of these concerns that have been brought up, and this is if council votes to accept this proposal, but the site plan agreement would have to be signed and agreed to.
Before it's an actual deal that's committed to move forward.
Yes, I believe, Bruce, can you help me with this?
Sure.
If council voted to accept the proposal, it would be on the condition of a site plan agreement being signed by both parties, correct?
Pretty close. So
I'm not a planner.
no, the Planning Act actually limits your abilities to do certain things. So the township, and actually no municipality in Ontario is allowed to zone somebody with conditions. So you can either say, yes, you're zoned, or no, you're not zoned. So council is going to be asking to make a decision of either saying, yes, it's approved, or no, it's approved. The third option council has is that there's another, we call it the toolbox, is our planning jargon. You can pass a holding zone. So what it does is you pass a whole, you would approve the application to rezone the property to allow the cannabis facility, but you would rezone it to include a holding symbol. And then you include criteria under that holding symbol of saying, this is when, once the owner has achieved these criteria, then the holding symbol is lifted and he has a zoning amendment application in force. So for example, this is where you could rezone the property to allow the cannabis facility with that holding zone. And that holding zone would be subject to a holding symbol that has that site plan in there, which would include an agreement that outlines all of the issues that we've been talking today, whether it's about fencing, lighting,
Right.
the aesthetics of the building, and ensuring that the air filtration system is installed that meets Health Canada's regulations.
Perfect.
What would
Thank
I
you so
have done
much.
without you tonight, Bruce? That was awesome. Thank you for that. Great clarity. Jack is there, and Merv and Brent are in the chambers. Annette, do either of the counselors have any questions? If not,
I'm seeing shaking heads no, so do you want me to unmute
excellent.
Jack?
And Jack, I see you're there. Okay, he hasn't come out of the dark. Well, Mark, thank you very much for your time tonight. Jack, sorry, Jack, did you have any questions?
No, I didn't. Not at this time.
Excellent, thank you. So I want to thank Mark for being here. I think that this, a town hall was definitely the way to go. I do appreciate that you distributed the documentation to the residents. The residents are still submitting concerns to the township via email, and they can continue to do so until next Tuesday. And I want to thank all of you for being on this Zoom this evening. Thank you for being so courteous and professional and not using any bad language, because we are recording this for YouTube. So I just want to thank you all for being here and for all of your comments and your concerns. I think that this was a very useful evening. So on behalf of the township, thank you all. Thanks to our amazing staff for staying so late tonight. Sandra, Dana, and Annette, and to my fellow counselors. So, hi, whoever Addington is, thank you for waving at me. All right. And Bruce, special thank you to you, sir. All right. Good night, everyone.